Hey everyone, welcome to the Tales from the Cutting Room Floor, and I want to share a little bit about what I didn't share yesterday in the message. Here's something that got cut, one of my all-time favorite stories. I love this story. It's about this king, I guess they're in Africa, and he's got this best friend who's kind of like the servant of the king, and they grow up together, and eventually they go on this hunting expedition, and the friend of the king is the one who's in charge of loading the guns. And this friend always had this habit of saying, no matter the situation, whether it was good, bad, or otherwise, he would always say, "This is good." And so they're on this hunting trip, and I don't know if the friend did something wrong, but anyway, the gun backfired and the king blew his thumb off. And so the friend says, "This is good." And the king is ticked. He's like, no, it's not. This is not good at all. Matter of fact, I'm taking you and I'm going to put you in my jail. And he puts his friend in jail for a year. And, some time passes, maybe a year, let's say. And the king is hunting again, and he was in a spot that he knew he shouldn't be. And of course, cannibals capture the king, and they got the fire in the pot, and they tie him up, and they're just about ready to light the guy on fire, kind of a thing, to cook him. And they notice that he's missing a thumb. Well, cannibals, they're very superstitious, and so they never eat a body that isn't whole. And so they let the king go. And the king is like, wow, what I thought was bad actually was good. And then he remembered his friend who he sent to jail, and he goes to visit his friend, and he apologizes. He says, "Oh my gosh, I really blew it. I'm so sorry. What kind of friend am I to send you in jail?" And he tells a story about how he got released and all that. And the friend says, "No, it's good that you sent me to jail." And the king says, "No, this isn't good that I sent my friend to jail. I shouldn't have done it for a whole year." And the friend replied, "No, it is good, because if you hadn't, I would have been with you." That's a great story. And that's really kind of the Joseph story. And I don't really get into the Joseph story about the ins and the outs. I really just get to the punchline, which is what you, the brothers, intended for evil, God took it for good so that he could save many lives. So God was working behind the scenes, working. God is working. Interestingly, as I mentioned, there's about a 40-year span of time, though, where it doesn't look like God's working at all, but he is working. He is leading you. He is directing you. He is moving you along, and he's moving along to something good, even if we don't see it. So then I get into the Shawshank Redemption movie, and man, you should see it. And probably you should see it if it's on TV instead of on demand, or you should see it on cable, I guess, because I think they cut out some of the really nasty parts in the words. So it's not family friendly, all right? But man, it's a great movie, especially how we see the key word in the movie, redemption. It's really a movie about hope. It's really a movie about Jesus, interestingly enough. And then I brought us to 1 Peter chapter 4. And this is really good to go over again. I just kind of gave the highlights. But if you look in your Bible, at least my Bible, when you get to verse 12, it has a heading above it which says, "Suffering for being a Christian." Whoa. Really? Yeah, really. And that was my first point on 1 Peter chapter 4. Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised. You can be sad, but don't be surprised. Secondly, it was the word obey, which is the tough one. Because when we are hurt, when we get hurt by someone or by circumstance, when we hurt, our natural instinct is to run away from God, to disobey. In other words, it's like giving up on a diet, Man, I tell you what, I think I lost 12 pounds and then gained 12 pounds, then lost 12 pounds in the matter of 2 weeks. It's so easy to disobey, to kind of get off that track. And that happens to us too when we're hurt. And you just kind of go, what's the point of praying? What's the point of doing the Bibles? What's the point of going to church? You don't feel like serving others. You know why? Because you're thinking about your hurt and your pain and all that. And that's totally natural. Totally natural. So we have to work against the grain of our nature and remain obedient, especially when you are going through a super tough time or you've been hurt. And then the third point was commit yourself. Commit yourself to God. Commit yourself to doing some good out there. You should also see this little, you should see Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, starring the incomparable Donny Osmond. I'm talking about the Canadian cast version. It was, I don't know, 20 years ago. My mom and dad sent us to go see it in downtown Chicago, and I was like, I'm not doing that. But it was a Christmas gift, so I was like, okay, thanks. And I was kind of like, ugh. And then I went. I tell you what, I was on my chair at the end of it. I was like singing. It's so great. See Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. It's mostly accurate, but enjoy it for what it is. Enjoy it for what it is. And that's what's cool about being a Christian in today's world, right? You take what it is. It's like, okay, not 100% completely accurate. Use it. Shawshank Redemption, R-rated. I mean, it's got some nasty, but use it for what it is. Take the good out of it and then share it and live it out. So God's blessings to you as you do that this week. Live it out. Commit yourself to God. Commit yourself to God. Commit yourself to God. You can't go wrong because everything will be all right, if not real soon, for sure. In the end. Peace.